Welcome! My name is Colleen Tauke and I'm sewing specialist here at Fons and Porter. In this Quilting Quickly tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put together the quilt called 9-Patch Park. If you'd like to purchase our pattern, please visit our website. We're going to be using this wonderful selection of spring 2.5-inch pre-cut strips, and we're adding this really pretty yellow cream color background to it. And you can see in the quilt behind me that we're creating 9-patch blocks that are framed and then joining them into rows and then adding some wonderful little playful squares along the top and the bottoms of this quilt. So we're going to be using those 2.5-inch pre-cut strips, and your pattern will show you then how many pieces to cut off of each strip. So we're going to be creating 9 squares and 2 rectangles off some of the squares, and then others, and this is all random because the colors all go together. We don't have to really worry about placement too much. Then also we're going to be cutting off some of the strips, the framework that goes around those. So you're going to be creating some of the long rectangles, the shorter ones that go around these, and other pieces then that will go into creating the other pieces within the quilt. So the fun part, you're also going to be cutting the yellow, and I believe some of these are cut from lengthwise. Double check your pattern. We sometimes have people cut pieces that are long strips lengthwise of the fabric, and that makes the most efficient use without having to put lots of seams in your quilt and your borders. So we're going to create that centerpiece, that 9-patch in the middle, and I've got it partly created here, and as I pick it up you'll see that the pieces are actually joined and linked, and that's, if you haven't done that before, it's a chain piecing technique, and I'll step you through that. We're going to be using the turquoise and the pink blocks that we cut off of our 2.5-inch strips. Now when I come to do something like this, I will lay out the pieces right beside my sewing center and have them in the right order so that there's 4 of one and 5 of another, so you want to make sure you get those in the right position. Now the reason why I do this chaining kind of thing is because as I pick these up I can easily get them sorted, and then I'm like, okay, which row goes where? And if I chain them properly, then the rows are hinged, and it just eliminates some of the confusion. So it's kind of fun to do this technique. So what I do is I come in and I start row 1 and 2, the vertical row. I'll come in and lay them right sides together. Set my sewing machine up for a 1/4-inch seam, and then I can come in and chain one after the other, get them right laid out the way they go into the machine. And if you're working like this after work, late at night, it's kind of a nice way to keep yourself organized. You know you've gotten down through an entire block and everything is together and you don't have to resort later. So I'm running off one block right onto the next, pairing those. And the fun part of this is also that you get to go through and decide which of the different prints you want to put together for your 9-patch in the center. And the pattern is very convertible. It can be used with a variety of printed fabrics. So if you found a set of 2.5-inch strips that you just absolutely loved, you could easily use this pattern to create that this quilt. So I'm just finger pressing them open, pressing them toward the darker of the fabrics. Usually in most of them you're going to create kind of a contrast, a light and a dark together. So here the blue is a little darker, so I've pressed my seam allowances toward that. So now I'm going to lay it so that the next row goes on top. I didn't clip in between any of those pieces, just laying them on. Then I can slide it right back to the machine and stitch down through the same way that I did the first row without stopping in between. I'm just sewing off of one piece and onto the next. Now I would go back at the end and set my seams and use my iron to press everything. I like to keep things seam allowances pressed nice and crisp so that I don't have to use just the nose of my iron to press with, but the entire iron itself, because the weight of the iron is what does the work. Okay, now you can see I've got this hinged in the same manner, so that when I get done pressing this, I would have this nice and crisp, and I can lay this right side on top, and it's ready to put under the machine to stitch. I don't have to worry about the placement. And the same thing here, I can just hinge it, lay it over, And since I pressed them all to the dark, all my seams would be nested so that I can do that seam also. And that would create the center block here. When you get done with that, bringing that all together, remember you cut off of some of the strips, the rectangles needed to frame out the blocks. So you would join the short ones side to side, and then the top and the bottom, and you'll have created all the blocks for 9-Patch Park. Now you also create, when you were cutting off of your strips, you can cut extra of the little squares, and you'll be putting those together to make the top and the bottom border, and adding in some of those yellow background blocks to join your rows together and the sashing between the rows. And you've got your quilt top done. Thanks for joining me today. If you'd like to see more of our Quilting Quickly tutorials, please visit our website.